Better today. Here we go.
Uh, Two questions. One, how much do you actually game plan preseason? Or do you
Um,
just, what do you work on?
yeah, it's a little bit different for each opponent. I would say the joint practices that are upcoming require a little bit of maybe extra game planning than an early preseason game in training camp. We're going through training camp. We're competing against our defense. When it comes time for a preseason game, you know, we're hesitant to spend too much time game planning that opponent when we could otherwise be focusing on our guys and getting better. We have a whole lot of offense installed, a whole lot of offense at our disposal. So we're able to, go run a bunch of good plays. Maybe we don't spend an entire week game planning out what we think are those best exact plays versus that best opponent. Because it just doesn't quite make sense with the nature of training camp practice where we're trying to evaluate our guys and really sort of see them put in different situations. So we do a little bit of game planning. To me, the number one emphasis game planning wise is to make sure we don't put our players in any compromised situations. Sometimes that's a blitz versus protection thing. You want to make sure you have a good plan in place so you're able to have enough guys in protection to block up the blitzes that they're bringing, so the guys can go compete. We're still trying to put good plays on the sheet, but maybe we don't, maybe quite spend an entire day on first, second down, another day on third down, another day on red zone. Maybe that's a little bit of a tighter, quicker process. And at the same time, we are in the middle of training camp. We're putting in a lot of plays and concepts out of a lot of different formations, and we're going to go to a game and run them with, you know, five different quarterbacks, three or four different groups of, skill guys, offensive linemen. So we're not always trying to, dive into the craziest formations we can draw up to put guys in absolute unique positions because it just doesn't quite make sense because you know that, hey, God, you go to the third quarter, it's going to be a new group. The fourth quarter is going to be a new group. You want plays that are a little bit better for all. But we do spend some time thinking about it, maybe not quite as much as a regular season game.
Quick follow up. Considering the sort of unique skill set of AR and even JT, it doesn't seem conducive to 2 series, 3 series. If you, how much of your playbook do you expose with those guys, knowing you're not going to run a lot of RPOs with AR in
I
preseason? I
think,
mean,
yeah, I think we're going to be, to me, obviously we're trying to go score points on offense. That's what we do. But I think we're a little bit more trying to be cognizant of getting those guys out there on the field in their element, kind of back playing live action football again, especially at the quarterback position and the running back position, which we talked about last week. I mentioned a little bit, just being able to get hit and get tackled for the first time. It's just so big to get those carries for all running backs. JT, being a great example of that. Just to get a few carries and maybe get tackled, and it is different than practice out here where we thud up and let them finish and all that stuff. So to me, it's more about the experience of going through those plays, getting that action, sort of getting tackled, getting hit, protecting the ball. For Anthony moving around, Coach mentioned it the other day, right? Moving around, sort of ducking out of bounds because hey, it's live action. Those guys are coming to hit him. That's one of the more valuable parts of the preseason, especially for that first group who's really getting going. They're gonna, we're hopeful they're gonna play a whole lot of snaps in this league. Usually you end up over 1,000 snaps for the year. So whatever it is, 6 or 8 or whatever to start a preseason game. It's not a huge amount compared to what they're going to go through for the year. So you want to just kind of get them going, get them ready, sort of get that first hit out of the way, get that first live snap with the fans surrounding them and the windows open and scoreboards are on and all that good stuff. Kind of get that out of the way.
thanks, Jim.
And Jim, with Anthony, how unique is it to evaluate him throughout the preseason, throughout practices when he cannot play the style of football that's most conducive to how he plays, which is real football, using his legs, physicality, things like that?
Yeah, it is unique. But it's in a good way for us, at least I'll say for myself as an offensive coach, because we're seeing all the practice reps, we're seeing all that stuff, and we're not even seeing the best stuff a lot of times, right? So it's kind of for us coaches like, hey, there's more out there. Like, hey, okay, we didn't get a first down on this drive against our defense. Our defense was able to stop us, but I kind of think Anthony might have got it there on third down, taking off running. There wasn't anything there in the pass game. There's a little bit of optimistic upside as we evaluate practice tape. We always think we beat the defense on a rep or a series, and they always think they beat us on a rep or a series. So it gives us a little bit of an argument advantage against them. But no, Anthony, this practice stuff's so great for quarterbacks, the way we go through it, reps with different guys, throwing the ball, obviously 7-on-7, all that stuff. But real football is going to be different with Anthony out there. We know that. Like I said, it is difficult to maybe sort of accurately evaluate an offensive series or sort of rack of plays or sort of period. But like I said, it's an optimistic upside type of thing where kind of go, hey, they tagged him off right there. I'm not sure they made that tackle though. I think Anthony gets out of that. So it's that's a part of our game, and as the Bullets get a little more live here soon, right? We're going preseason 1, preseason 2, preseason 3, and then the regular season's coming at us fast. It's going to be fun to watch Anthony play full speed ball again and play real football again. And this practice, all these practice reps we get are great for him and great for our offense, but we know it's going to be a little bit different.
Jake, if you're here, we'll bounce back to you.
I'm back. All right. So you guys obviously had to kind of adjust on the fly with Josh going out. How have you noticed AD kind of slide in there to the slot position? It looks like he's getting the kind of the lion's share of the reps there.
Yeah. So Josh going down, obviously, as training camps go, you have injuries, you have rep things that change, you have guys that maybe move within groups or move within positions as you go through training camp. It's unfortunate, for Josh to have an injury, but had an opportunity to get some other guys some different reps and maybe try them out in different spots and try different roles with them. All our guys really work all the spots. I think Shane said this the other day. We're able to formationally move guys around all over the field, so they are required to sort of know the concepts. Hey, you can be an outside receiver or an inside receiver. This concept's in. You may be, even for a rookie, right? AD's a rookie. Hey, he's played outside a little bit more than he's played inside throughout offseason training camp, but he's got to learn those inside roles, and he has. Says a lot to AD's ability to sort of learn and process and go show up and play ball. So, for any of our guys, we feel confident that, if we're in 11 personnel, where we got those 3 receivers out there, we can kind of put, we think, our entire receiver room in any of those 3 roles, because guys can go play those positions. And now we're going to let them try different routes. Maybe Josh Downs has gotten the majority of a certain route in camp. Well, shoot, let's give Pitt a few. Let's give Pierce a few. Let's give AD a few. Let's let those guys work those things. And like I said, all our guys are working all that stuff, but it opens up a few more reps, sort of with that one group for different guys to try different things out. Really can't say enough about AD's ability to sort of learn whatever's asked of him. Don't take that for granted for a rookie receiver in this league. A lot of young guys in this league at any position, you got to be real careful as a coaching staff, moving them around into multiple roles. Sometimes for young guys, for rookies, you really want them to learn their role and be really good at that. But AD possesses, the ability to learn all that stuff and do it really, really well. He's really, really on top of things mentally, and all the stuff that Coach Reggie's going through with him. AD's really, really sharp with that. So we feel comfortable moving around. For a young guy, you don't always say that about everybody, but we're lucky to have smart guys, and AD's doing a great job learning that stuff. So, like I said, there's there's some opportunities available there. There'll be some catches to be gotten. We'll let everybody try out some of those routes in some different roles and move them around, and be part of our training camp.
We'll go to Nate.
Hey, Jim Bob. So far, Jelani Woods has been playing a lot with the second team, sometimes third team, fourth team. What do you think he needs to do or show you guys to be able to kind of move up there and maybe get a little bit more of a role with the first team?
Yeah, I think all those tight ends are sort of versatile enough with what unit they're in with, what, sort of whether it's the first play of a series or the fifth play of a series on our practice sort of racks here. All those guys can play ball. We've got a really good tight end room. A lot of times it comes down to, we're really trying to track who's got certain roles and is doing certain jobs. And we want to make sure everybody's getting a chance at those roles, those jobs. So sometimes it's like, gosh, so-and-so ran a stick route yesterday. Let's get this stick route for the next guy. We're just kind of rotating those things back and forth. I don't put too much worry into sort of, who's getting reps with the ones or the twos right now, because they're all reps. We're all just getting better, and we're able to evaluate them. And ultimately, we're going to go play football on Sunday and have our guys that are up and rolling. But if we sort of withhold anybody from not getting reps with a certain group, we're going to limit their reps overall. So we're thrilled just that the guys are out there getting their work, getting their reps. Like I said, whether you're with the ones or the twos, it really doesn't matter to us as a coaching staff. We're able to watch you run those routes and execute those blocking assignments. And I think it's good for guys to sort of have versatility within groups. And our guys have such a great mindset about that. Hey, whatever. I've got 4 reps this series. 2 of them are with the ones, 2 of them with the twos. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to go run those 4 reps as well as I can. We got a really humble group that way that they don't really think about it too much. They're just going to get their work in. So it's not a huge part of our deal. The practice periods are set up the way they're set up for a reason, just sort of offensively to kind of maximize our output there. So he's doing a really nice job, and we need to see more of that from everybody on our roster. Guys going out there making plays. It's good for the Colts offense.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up. I mean, I understand all that, but at some point, do you need him to build some kind of a rapport with Anthony Richardson? Is there value to getting him working with that first-team quarterback, or is that not a big priority right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've gotten a ton of throws and catches throughout camp. We're throwing routes on air. We're throwing all sorts of different stuff. Rapport is definitely good with any sort of guy that's catching a ball with the quarterback that's throwing it to him. But there's a wide swath of guys that we're getting work and getting catches with Anthony. So those things sort of happen naturally, and they happen within the flow of certain periods like routes on air, which may not be the most exciting period to track or anything. But those guys are able to really get a feel for certain routes. And then sometimes guys will go catch for the quarterbacks during special teams, or guys will get those extra routes after practice. There's a lot of different paths to that.
Okay, we'll go Steven.
Hey, Jim Bob. Hey, you guys you always like your players. You guys pick them. But when you have a young group like you do at wide receiver, you are always kind of projecting a little bit like how they'll perform in certain situations like training camp, and will they rise to the occasion? It seems like they have collectively. What have you learned about that group just as a whole, as you have kind of asked more of them and as they proceed through training camp and preseason?
Yeah, it's a group I was excited to work with here in training camp. I was excited to sort of see how they manage a training camp together. It's been great. I would say it's a resilient, competitive group. There's some competition going on in there, whether it's for a starting position or a role within the team, or just a few reps here or there. They're trying to all show that they can be the best guy that runs a certain route, those types of things. They've done a great job. They've answered challenges. Challenges have come up, which they do in training camp, whether it be an injury or a guy maybe missing a little bit of time within a training camp practice. and guys having to fill in different roles. I think competition has made us better, and we've got a group that can do a lot of different things well. And I think right now we're sort of letting everybody work their training camp experience in their position, or working their versatility within different roles. And we're starting to really get a feel for what our pass game might look like this year. And that receiver room is obviously going to play a huge part in that. So the journey's not over yet. We're we got a big week ahead of us with some joint practices against some different opponents, which will be great, right? Different guys, different matchups, maybe different coverage techniques that we haven't seen this training camp. And for us, whether we're evaluating our guys or just watching them develop, we're excited about what training camp has been up to this point. And the next couple of weeks are going to be, probably just as big, if not bigger, because we're going to go get to compete against some different colored jerseys, and that's what this NFL season is going to hold for that group. So, what exactly the makeup of a regular season game day is going to look like with that group, the story's not written yet, because they're going to go compete like crazy these next couple of weeks to sort of play good ball and maybe become that guy that makes the big play on game day. And it happens because the first Cardinal joint practice, he hit this one route against a pretty good DB, and we said, shoot, he's pretty good at that. That's happened a ton over the years. So like I said, a little bit round and round here, but competitive, resilient. I think the competition's made them better. And I'm excited about where we're heading with them. But we got a couple big weeks to find out more about them.
One quick thing on the tight ends, not Jelani specifically, but the whole group. You and Shane have both kind of acknowledged, like, you don't have, like, this is a ridiculous example, but you don't have like a Tony Gonzalez type guy, or maybe that's a bad example. Just someone who's obviously far and away elite at everything that the job requires. You kind of have different types of guys who maybe are standouts in certain areas. Is there any downside to that? It's great, right? You have the versatility. Is there any downside to that? And how do you combat whatever those challenges might be as a coaching staff? You talk about being predictable or things like that. Is there any issue there at all?
Yeah, I think within sort of roster building in this league, at least as far as I see it or have learned about it, there are different scenarios in different tight end rooms. Some tight end rooms have that one guy that plays 65 snaps and, sort of every single game he's doing that, and he's doing a lot of different things. Across the league, there's a ton of different tight end rooms where there might be 3 or 4 or 5 contributors on game day that are playing different roles. So there's different ways, and both have had success over the years. There's not a right or a wrong way to do it. We're lucky enough to have guys that can really do a lot of different things well. And just to give them a little love, I was really encouraged by a lot of those things that those guys did in this first preseason game. Mo had a big catch.
Yeah.
There were a couple really nice routes where the ball just went somewhere else, but Granson was rolling across the field. Tree had a nice in route. Jelani obviously had his sort of over route, and Mallory had his deep one down the field. Those are big plays that were made. That was great to see in the pass game. There's some other really good blocking things that happened in there as well. But what happens typically, which you referenced and is exactly right, when you have different guys that are performing different roles, defenses pick up on that, right? Hey, this guy is in and it's more pass. This guy's in, it's more run. This guy's in, and maybe it's a certain type of run, right? Defensive coordinators in this league make things pretty tough on us by recognizing all this stuff. But it's something we have to keep a keen eye on and really work to combat as we get into our regular season mode where we are, competing like crazy to win games. We have to do a great job within the week of really self-scouting ourselves in the past to know what the defense is seeing. And then that's sort of the cat and mouse game there, where you want guys to do the roles of what they do best. You want to let guys go do what they do best on the field. That's offensive football, more or less. But then you end up managing the sort of the percentages that defenses see and how they adjust to those things. So we have a great awareness of it. Obviously, you do too, which is good. The media's in on it. We're all together on this
Hey,
thing.
that's why you get paid the big bucks. You
These
figure it
defensive
out.
coordinators are certainly in on it. So we know that it's not it's not something we're unaware of, but it is something we definitely have to manage.
Okay.
It's a part of our weekly process when we get in season. So like I said, I'm really encouraged by that first preseason game with that group, and competition's pretty fierce there as well.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we're going to take our last question from Joel.
Jim Bob, what sticks out to you about the way Anthony kind of sees the game? I'm sure every quarterback's a little bit different. What jumps out at you? It's just kind of the way he sees football and from the pocket.
Yeah, he has a really good understanding of, I would say, sort of, I think spatial awareness is the cool way to say it, but just sort of what's around him and what's happening out there in the coverage structure. We've referenced it a few times, but we're motioning, we're jet sweeping, we're play actioning, and sometimes as you go through a training camp, as you go through an off season, as you go through a regular season, you run all this stuff, and we're evaluating all these concepts, and sometimes Anthony will get it, not to number one, not to number two. It's sort of in that quarterback progression, but maybe it goes to number 3 or number 4, but it goes there really fast. You go, Anthony, how'd you see that? And as he was evaluating his pass progression down the field, he just sort of noticed that the defense didn't quite cover down a certain area that they probably should have. That's a trait that he has, which is really valuable for a quarterback. Just sort of, obviously, there's a ton of information that quarterbacks have to manage in this league. Starts with our offensive plays, what plays we running, what are our progressions, what's our footwork, what's going on with the protection scheme, how are our players playing, how do they run certain routes, and then the next step is, all right, what is the defense doing? What do their coverage schemes look like? What about the front? What can those fronts tell a quarterback about maybe what the coverage is going to turn into? So there's a lot of sort of intellectual knowledge that we're throwing at every quarterback we have. We're throwing so much at these guys, and it's getting thrown at them, in general at their position. That just is what it is in this league. But for Anthony to have that really great spatial awareness of just sort of where defenders are, and sometimes, we may see something on the sideline or see something on the tape, and we think, oh, Anthony, I'm not sure. Should you have thrown that ball? And he was like, I knew I could get it in there. And maybe by our vantage point from the camera or from the sideline, we thought, I'm not sure about that. But Anthony has that feel, has that awareness for, the zone defender he couldn't get this ball. Or, hey, obviously, quarterback read stuff. The defensive end, he couldn't tackle me. He couldn't make that. He couldn't redirect and go get me. So I had him outrun. Don't worry about it. So those are fun things to talk about with Anthony. It's been really good experience, kind of getting to know him a little bit better this second year, going through training camp. That sort of first training camp, first preseason thing, first time sort of learning the offense. That was the rookie season. That's over and done with, and now we're advancing onward, and it's been fun.